At its core, your mind isn't designed to determine what's morally right or what's wrong. That's the domain of your values, the domain of your beliefs, and sometimes your spiritual or cultural programming. Your mind, especially the subconscious mind, is a pattern recognition machine. It asks only one question before anything else. Does this make sense based on what I already know or believe? You know? And if the answer is yes, then your mind will accept it. Even if it's dysfunctional, or even if it's harmful, or objectively wrong. What makes sense isn't always what's right. Like, for example, if you grew up in a home where love was chaotic, your mind may register emotional unavailability or even drama as normal. So when peaceful or even healthy love shows up, it might not make sense. You'll sabotage it. Not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. Huh? Now, if you were raised to believe that money is evil, then your mind will resist wealth building strategies. Not because they are wrong again, but because your mind is wired to associate riches with danger or even corruption. If trauma taught you that trusting others leads to pain, then your mind will perceive vulnerability as a threat. It's not morally evaluating openness. It's just flagging it as unsafe because based on past logic. So your inner compass doesn't automatically ask, is this true? No. It will ask, does this align with what I already believe? This is why people often cling to limiting beliefs, toxic relationships, or even self-destructive patterns. Not because they want to suffer, but because the suffering makes sense to their internal blueprint. Your brain is wired for coherence, not correctness. If you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, and your past experiences support that, then your mind will reinforce that belief, even if it destroys your potential. Why? Because familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace, And your brain would rather stay in a consistent, even if painful, it will stay in a consistent reality than step into cognitive dissonance. The discomfort of experiencing something that contradicts what you've always believed. If you want to change your life, you don't just need motivation. You need to disrupt your mind's sense-making system. That's what you need to disrupt. You have to introduce new logic, new experiences, and new languages that feel unfamiliar but true. Change feels wrong at first, not because it's wrong, but because your mind is wired to protect you from things that don't match your emotional past. This is why therapy, healing, and self-awareness often feel confusing or threatening. They are not feeding your mind what it's used to. They are retraining it to see truth outside of old patterns. You understand? Your mind doesn't care if it's right. It cares if it makes sense. So if you want to shift your reality, don't just ask, is this good or bad? Ask yourself, does this belief serve me or just feels familiar? Is this thought based on truth or on repetition? You are not broken. Your brain is just doing what it was trained to do. But now, training can be undone. And logic can evolve. So, don't just follow things out of familiarity. Follow things out of alignment. My people, heal. Heal.